In 2001, an American Airlines fare menu for a Boston-Seattle round trip showed economy prices ranging from $458 to more than $2,200. Same route, same cabin. Very different ticket terms. The cheapest fare demanded advance planning and restrictions. The highest economy fare brought far more flexibility. So the mystery is not simply why two seats cost different amounts. It is why one journey can carry so many legitimate prices at once. Most travelers have a theory. You search for a flight, you hesitate, you check again, and the fare has jumped. So you open an incognito window, clear your cookies, switch from your phone to your laptop, perhaps even try a different location. The sequence feels obvious. I looked, the airline noticed, and the price rose because of me. It is an understandable suspicion. A price changed immediately after an action you took. But timing can create a convincing story, even when the underlying mechanism is doing something else. The strongest direct test of this belief built 66 artificial shopper profiles with different cookies, browsing histories, browsers, and privacy settings, then searched 25 airline websites repeatedly. The researchers found highly dynamic prices, but no systematic evidence that the airlines charged different fares to different profiles. Later European research reached a similarly cautious conclusion. That does not prove personalized pricing can never happen, especially as technology changes. Nor does it mean every travel website behaves exactly like an airline's own site. But for most airline direct price movements, the safer explanation is simpler. The cheapest available fare disappeared, inventory was updated, or the market changed while you were deciding. Prices can move down as well as up. The airline probably did not notice you. The available offer changed. To understand why, start with the product itself. An airline seat has an expiry time. When the aircraft door closes, an empty seat can never be stored, returned to a warehouse, or sold tomorrow. Its value falls to zero. Think of a theatre performance with a hard curtain time. Once the show starts, the empty chair is gone as a commercial opportunity. But an airline still has real passenger-level costs. Payment fees, distribution, handling, catering, passenger charges, baggage, and a little extra fuel all rise when another person travels. By departure, however, much of the cost of operating the flight has already been committed. The aircraft, crew, airport operation, and much of the fuel and maintenance burden. The marginal cost of one more passenger is low, not zero. That combination, high committed cost, limited capacity, and a product that expires, creates the need to manage every seat carefully. The airline is trying to avoid two opposite mistakes. The first is spoilage. It protects too many seats for expensive late demand. That demand never arrives, and the plane leaves with empty capacity that can never be sold. The second is spillage. It sells too many seats cheaply, fills the flight early, and later has to reject demand that would have paid more. Imagine choosing between a guaranteed $200 today and a chance of $600 next week. But if you wait too long and nobody arrives, the seat becomes worthless. Selling today brings cash, but destroys the option to sell that capacity later. Waiting preserves the option, but risks losing everything. Airline pricing is not a search for one perfect number. It is a repeated decision about whether to sell now or preserve the option to sell later, while accepting that either decision can be wrong. To make that decision, airlines build a booking curve, a forecast of how a comparable flight normally fills as departure approaches. At 90 days out, perhaps only a small fraction of final demand has appeared. At 30 days, the pattern is clearer. Close to departure, urgent and less flexible demand may arrive. The system compares that expected curve with what is happening now. If bookings are running ahead of forecast, cheaper availability may close sooner. The physical seats still exist, but the cheap ticket product is no longer available. If bookings are running behind forecast, lower fares may become available again. A price drop is not necessarily a mistake. It can be the system correcting an earlier expectation. This is why fare movement is not naturally one way. The airline forecasts demand, sets booking limits, observes real bookings, then forecasts again. Some controls may be reviewed daily. More advanced systems can react faster. Modern network airlines may use bid prices and more complex optimization. But the system is still forecasting. It does not know which exact passengers will appear. It manages probabilities, revises protection levels, and corrects itself when reality refuses to follow the plan. Now return to those economy fares. Cabin, seat, and booking class are different things. The cabin is the physical section of the aircraft. The seat is where you sit. The booking class and fare rules describe the product you bought. Inside one economy cabin, an airline can sell many contracts. One may be non-refundable, difficult to change, and available only well in advance. Another may allow changes, refunds, baggage, earlier boarding, or other benefits. The passengers can sit in identical seats with the same legroom and arrive at the same time, but they did not buy identical products. That does not mean every price difference is purely contractual. Channels, competition, taxes, and the moment of purchase can matter too. And some fare bundles include physical benefits, such as preferred seating. But within one cabin, the underlying distinction is still powerful. The letter codes inside airline reservation systems help control it. The letter codes inside reservation systems link fare rules and price points to the inventory the airline will sell. They are not universal, and they are not grades of seat quality. Within the same cabin, the airline is pricing the contract, not just the seat. The hardware may match, the flexibility, timing, and risk do not. Economists call much of this second-degree price discrimination. The phrase sounds sinister, but the mechanism is straightforward. The airline offers a menu, and travelers sort themselves. The system does not need to know each person's identity to separate demand. A holiday traveler who can book months ahead may accept restrictions in exchange for a lower price. A corporate traveler who cannot predict the meeting date may pay more for flexibility. A student may shift by a day. A parent traveling for an emergency may have almost no choice at all. That final example matters. Self-selection does not mean every customer is equally free. The menu separates travelers by timing, flexibility, and willingness to accept risk. But real circumstances can remove those choices. The system may be economically coherent while still producing outcomes that feel, and sometimes are, unfair. Dynamic airline pricing can improve the use of limited capacity and make lower fares available to people who would not buy at one uniform price. But efficiency is not fairness. Government studies have found large fare premiums at concentrated hubs, even as national competition improved over time. Both can be true. The average market can become more competitive, while particular routes remain dominated. The distribution of gains still matters. Where competition is weak, pricing power can transfer more value from passengers to the airline without creating much additional travel. Urgent travelers can face the highest prices precisely because they have the least freedom to wait. A system can be coherent and efficient in aggregate while imposing its harshest outcomes on people with the fewest alternatives. That is why transparency and competition still matter. The calculation becomes stranger inside a network. A seat from City A to City B can be sold to a local passenger, or used as one part of a longer journey from A through B to C. Accepting one booking may prevent the airline from selling a more valuable itinerary that needs the same seat. That lost possibility is called displacement cost. Large network airlines therefore try to value the complete journey, not only one flight leg. This explains why a longer connecting trip can sometimes cost less than a shorter non-stop journey. The airline is competing in different markets and protecting different network opportunities. Network control is not the answer to every strange fare. Channels, rules, taxes, competition, and errors can matter too. The key is that capacity on one segment can carry different economic value depending on the wider journey it enables. Now we can draw the most important distinction in this story. Dynamic pricing is market-facing. The fare changes with route, time, remaining inventory, booking pace, and competition. At a given moment, the same available offer is responding to those market conditions. Personalized pricing is identity-facing. It changes because of the specific shopper's personal data or inferred willingness to pay. Contextual differences, such as country, currency, or channel, can also affect an offer without necessarily being individual personalization. Classic airline revenue management is dynamic. A large historical test of airline websites found no systematic profile-specific fare difference across the artificial shopper profiles it examined. That does not prove current practice. Broader Federal Trade Commission work has shown that pricing intermediaries can use precise location, browser history, and other personal data across retail. The careful conclusion is therefore narrower. Mainstream airline direct, personalized base fares were not established by the evidence reviewed, but the wider capability and regulatory risk are real. That question became public in 2025, when Delta described expanding an AI-assisted pricing system developed with Fetcher. In July of that year, Delta said the system covered roughly 3% of its domestic network and named 20% by year-end as a target. Several United States senators warned that the technology could move toward pricing each passenger at a personal pain point. Delta denied that. It said the system used aggregated route and flight information, did not receive personal customer data, and assisted human analysts rather than replacing them. Both positions are on the record. Neither tells us everything. No independent technical audit has established what the production system actually uses, and the 20% target should not be repeated as a current fact unless later company disclosures confirm it. The evidence reviewed for this treatment did not establish an updated 2026 penetration figure. This is not proof of surveillance pricing, nor is a company denial independent proof that it cannot occur. It is a live case showing why the distinction between market forecasting and individual targeting now matters. The industry is also rebuilding the machinery beneath the fare. Traditional pricing looks like a staircase, filed fares connected to booking classes. As cheaper availability closes, the displayed price steps upward. Continuous pricing moves toward a ramp, selecting from a more granular range near shopping time. The airline can also assemble flight, baggage, seat, and flexibility into a richer offer. NDC is often confused with this change. NDC does not decide the price. IATA defines it as a data exchange and XML-based transmission standard that improves communication between airlines and travel sellers. It can carry richer offers and support newer order workflows, but the pricing logic remains upstream. The old system has not disappeared. ATPCO later reported that 31% of sold offers included dynamically created elements. That is a first-party estimate using a broad definition, not an independent audit and not a measure of fully continuous pricing. Fare buckets are being supplemented, not erased. Return now to the Boston-Seattle fare menu. The ladder no longer looks arbitrary. Beneath each price sits a set of moving parts: a seat that expires at departure, a forecast of future demand, booking limits that open and close, a contract with different restrictions, the opportunity cost of using capacity elsewhere in the network, competition, distribution and channel rules, and, increasingly, more granular real-time pricing. There was never one natural sticker price waiting to be discovered. There was a control system producing different offers while making a bet about an uncertain future. That does not make every outcome fair. It makes the machinery visible enough to judge. When the aircraft door closes, an empty seat reaches zero. Before that moment, every fare is an attempt to balance the value of selling now against the possibility of selling later. Your fare was not random, it was a contract. a forecast, and a bet about demand the airline expected, but could never know for certain. And once you recognize that machine, you begin to see versions of it far beyond the airport.